What's up, XRP Army, and welcome back to another Wynand Crypto video. We're witnessing history in the making right now. Bo Hines just dropped some massive news at Bitcoin 2025 about making America the undisputed crypto superpower, and trust me, this is going to blow your mind. Plus, I've got some exclusive intel on Ripple's master plan to become an actual bank and the shocking connections between JP Morgan and XRP that nobody's talking about. So make sure to watch this video completely until the end because this could change everything for XRP holders. Alright family, let's dive straight into the action because Bo Hines is making some seriously bold moves at the Bitcoin 2025 conference. This guy is pushing hard to establish the United States as the global crypto capital, and what he's saying could be a game changer for all of us. So check this out, here's what Bo Hines had to say.
Now we're in the construction phase, right? And we're relying on our colleagues on Capitol Hill who are doing an absolutely phenomenal job of working to get Genius home. And, Genius is very important for the ecosystem and for Bitcoiners, right? Because, what we're looking at here is updating our archaic payment rails that have existed for quite some time. You look at, technology more generally, you look at the ways in which we communicate, how that's evolved. One thing that hasn't changed is the way in which we move money. And that's something that needs to be fixed. So we're looking at a system that will create much more expeditious transactions with instant settlement times. We're looking at a system that will provide a lot more transparency. And then we're looking at something that will secure US dollar global dominance for decades to come. But with all of that, the reason that Bitcoiners should really care about this, you're talking about a massive injection of capital into the digital assets ecosystem. That is great for Bitcoiners, it's great for Bitcoin, and we are extremely excited about what's to come as a result of Genius. And I'd be remiss not to thank Senator Haggerty for his leadership in this space, Tyler, who's worked diligently in this process, Luke Pettit in Senator Haggerty's office has done a fantastic job, and we've done this in a bipartisan way with Senator Gillibrand's office. In the last vote on cloture, I think we had close to 15 Democrats sign on. This is something that's not partisan. This is about revolutionizing our financial system, taking the technologies that come out of the digital asset space, plugging them into traditional systems, and creating an environment that welcomes innovation and establishes the US as not only the global Bitcoin superpower, but the crypto capital.
Did you catch that? Instant settlement times, massive transparency upgrades, and here's the kicker, securing US dollar dominance for decades. But here's what really gets me excited. He's talking about injecting massive capital into the digital asset ecosystem. That's music to our ears as XRP holders. Bo Hines mentioned something crucial about stablecoin regulation. We've got two major bills in play here, the Genius Act moving through the Senate and the Stable Act in the House. Here's what is fascinating. These two legislative bodies will need to merge their approaches, and I'm betting the Genius Act takes the lead. Why, you may ask? Because the Genius Act actually empowers individual custody rights and redemption freedoms, taking power away from traditional banks and putting it back into our hands. That's the kind of legislation we need.
To be advancing quickly here on stablecoin. I think the House version, my bill, the Stable Act, complements well with the Genius Act in the Senate. I think at the end of the day, we'll be able to get one unified piece of legislation as we work to also deliver on the market structure legislation that's so essential. When both get done, I think we will really unlock the digital asset golden age here in the United States.
Now let's shift gears to something that's going to absolutely blow your mind. Ripple's master plan to become a fully fledged bank. This isn't just speculation, this is strategic brilliance in action. First, let me explain what Ripple is currently classified as, a neobank. For those unfamiliar, neobanks are fintech companies operating exclusively online with no physical branches. They offer basic services like checking, savings, and payments, but partner with traditional banks for deposits and FDIC insurance. But here's where it gets interesting. If Ripple wants to become a lender of last resort, and I believe that's exactly their end game, they need to transition from a neobank to a fully fledged banking license. This would be absolutely revolutionary. Most people think Ripple is just a cross-border payments company. They are wrong. Ripple is constructing the foundational infrastructure for the entire next generation financial system. A banking license would be the final puzzle piece. With banking authorization, Ripple would unlock direct access to central banking systems, loan and credit issuance capabilities, asset custody services, legal authority of both fiat and cryptocurrency, seamless CBDC and stablecoin integration, and complete elimination of intermediaries. Remember, XRP serves as a bridge asset between all global currencies, and Ripple already has US regulatory clarity post-SEC victory. Over 25 billion assets, payment corridors spanning 70 countries, CBDC pilots in Bhutan, Palau, and Montenegro, plus deep relationships with the BIS, the IMF, and the central banks worldwide. But wait, there's even more to this story. A banking license would provide Ripple with instant legitimacy alongside Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Sure, JP Morgan processes 10 trillion daily, but Ripple is positioning itself to compete at that level. This license would enable Ripple to issue branded stablecoins, provide institutional custody, serve as a gateway for tokenized real assets, legally maintaining reserves across multiple jurisdictions, and operate as a digital clearinghouse for CBDCs. And they're already making moves. Ripple acquired Metaco, a crypto custody firm trusted by major banks. They're expanding into real estate. Just look at the Dubai deal worth $60 billion in land, representing about 7% of their real estate portfolio. Here is what the future could look like. Watch this.
This reconcentration of assets under custody in banking. We believe, and I think it's materializing right now, that this wide distribution that we have seen historically of digital assets being allocated across thousands and thousands of companies and millions of individuals will end up being statistically a lot allocated with a few large banking institutions.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. The wide distribution of digital assets we've seen historically will consolidate with a few major banking institutions. Not every bank can handle tokenized securities, which puts Ripple in a league of its own. With their global license and massive war chest, Ripple is positioned to acquire companies and expand exponentially. Think about Ripple's progress in just the last 12 months. Now imagine where it will be in 2025 or even 2030. And you guys, I have a special trick for you, which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus, and now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get, on top of your capital you moved, another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, so if you move or deposit 100k to your account, you get 10k for free. I'm not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody's doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I mean, like, I cannot make that account for you. You will need to do that yourself, alright? So let's jump back into the video. Now here's something that will really make you think. I've been digging into the connections between JP Morgan and Ripple, and here's what I found. It's absolutely fascinating. So check out this document I found. Look at this official JP Morgan document highlighting the case of Ripple, which has the potential to disrupt cross-border payment processing across the industry globally. JP Morgan has known for years that Ripple will become a major competitor. The connections run deep. JP Morgan explicitly mentions Ripple and XRP in official reports about unlocking value in cross-border payments, positioning XRP alongside major systems like SWIFT. They recognize Ripple as a serious industry player. JP Morgan is expanding crypto holdings and involvement in digital assets. While they already have Bitcoin and Ethereum exposure, XRP is the logical next step given its cross-border payment prominence. There are claims JP Morgan has started accepting XRP payments and maybe accumulating in anticipation of future XRP ETFs. Both companies are members of the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, ISDA, increasing collaboration likelihood and industry standard alignment. Here's a personal connection that caught my attention. Sandy O'Connor, former JP Morgan Chief Regulatory Affairs Officer, now serves on Ripple's board. Talk about strategic positioning. But here's the real kicker. JP Morgan has acknowledged Ripple's disruptive potential and is reportedly studying their technology closely. While JP Morgan has resources to build proprietary infrastructure, which they have with JPM Coin, they understand the need to potentially integrate with Ripple solutions to stay competitive. Of course, JP Morgan also expresses skepticism about XRP's sustainability, but think about it. If you're JP Morgan clearing $10 trillion daily and earning massive fees from other banks using your rails, wouldn't you be concerned about technology that could undercut your profits? This is classic competitive positioning. JP Morgan will say whatever necessary to protect their business model, but their actions tell a different story. Before we wrap up, I want to highlight some exciting news about Root Network and Uphold's new partnership. This is exactly what we need: more incredible companies building on the XRP ledger. The Root Network is establishing a strong foothold in our ecosystem, and I encourage everyone to check them out. So let me leave you with this mind-blowing insight from Jay Claver.
He says, is there a set amount of XRP needed to move a set amount of money? Do we know it makes more sense for XRP to be high priced? The fee is fixed on the network, and the higher the price of XRP is, the more money it can move for the less amount of XRP. So as an example, right now, if let's say XRP was $1 instead of what it is, it's higher than that. But if it was $1, you need 1 million XRP to move $1 million. And this is an example that David Schwartz said, you could use 1 million XRP to move $1 million, or if XRP was $1 million a piece, then you would just need 1 XRP to move $1 million. So the network and the asset become much more efficient as the price increases of the asset, and it's really programmed to be around $10,000 is where it reaches it starts to reach some of its efficiencies. And so that's where I think it'll be in the next 48, well, probably less than that.
This is brilliant. The XRP network becomes exponentially more efficient as the prices increase. So smash the like button if this content pumped you up, hit subscribe to join the XRP army, and drop your thoughts about XRP's future in the comments below. What price target are you holding for, and what's your exit strategy? Let's build this community together. Wynand Crypto out.